My mission is to prevent the erosion of the culture of humanity that built the world. When I'm a history nerd myself, when I look at the attitudes and the mindsets of all the people who've built the modern world, every single great idea was established by a great man. And all of these people had a very similar way of working and a very similar mindset, irrespective of where in the world they were born and the time period they were born. I think that new think, as me and Andrew brand it, is a new way of doing things. It's a new untested way of trying to run the culture of the world. And what have we accomplished? How old are you?
23, yeah.
Greatest accomplishment, human accomplishment in your lifetime. Go. Tell me one.
Greatest accomplishment.
Human. Any human accomplishment. Greatest one. Because it seems that we've stopped doing good things, doesn't it? I mean, in my opinion, first man to climb Mount Everest, men who landed on the moon. There were various human accomplishments, whether you buy it or not, that were made that humans strive for. And anybody could tell you from the older generations during their time period what the greatest things humanity did was. It seems now we're stuck in a rut where nothing great is happening. Culture's just slowly getting eroded. Currency is getting eroded. There's a new war every once in a while. New people die. New scandals happen. But nothing is actually being accomplished or being done. So I don't think that New Think has proven itself to be a viable way of progressing the global culture. So I'm just trying to take that back a little bit. If I was a man living in 1931, nobody would think anything about my views was crazy or wild, or any other point in human history. Nobody would call my views wild or crazy. It's only today. So if today was overwhelmingly more successful than all the various times in the past, of course we have more up-to-date technology, but that's true in every single time period. If today was overwhelmingly better, the quality of life was better, people were better, I'd have to take a step back and analyze myself and think, am I wrong to be stuck in the past? But it seems the future doesn't have anything great for anyone to even look forward to.
Do you think AI is a great human achievement?
I mean, it's as of right now, it's a very complicated thing that's developed, and technology keeps getting better. But I don't think AI is very useful to the common man who can't afford his groceries, whose children are being stabbed to death on the streets of London. I don't think AI is a great saving grace that's going to help us all unless you use it to bring in a totalitarian form of tyranny on everybody. You know, it would be a very scary police force if it was in charge of the world's security. It would be terrifying. But is that what we want? Technology so good that we can submit humans into behaving in an amicable and respectable way by fear? You know, what's AI done? It's made some cool photos. There's a photo of me and Elon Musk riding a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But is that really that useful right now? The implications of AI in the future are going to be extraordinary. Yes, absolutely. By the time it gets good enough when they say, I mean, let's take a Boeing 747 airliner. Dozens of men sat around for decades designing this plane, the most efficient way to run this wire, to put the fuel tanks, and they sit there with a pen and paper, a blue sheet, and a white chalk, and they drew up this design. When AI is good enough to say, I want a plane more efficient than the Boeing 747 design you want, and it just comes up with blueprints, that's when it's going to be truly groundbreaking. But as of right now, I don't see any major breakthroughs in humanity that have made me more hopeful for the future of humanity, if that makes sense. Heartbreak teaches you the power of understanding that in life, things will always get better if you try to make them better. You know, I'm not going to say her name, but there were girls who I dated when you were still a baby. So let's say I was 20 years old. And she was 19 years old, I was 20 years old, and we broke up for whatever reasons. This particular girl got some job where she had to move to London. And I was upset about it. And now she's some 35-year-old middle-aged woman with, you know, 2 unspectacular kids and a husband who's divorced her. And I'm just like, if the heartbreak had never happened, well, I'd be that guy. I'd be with her now. I wouldn't have done all the great things that I've done. Heartbreak sucks. And you do have to deal with it. And again, know when to walk away without begging or humiliating yourself, especially in this day and age of DMs and messages being recorded and stuff. And each heartbreak, like with every bad event that happens in life, sets an important marker that you eventually look back on a longer timeline. and you see the growth and the self-improvement and maybe the hypothetical scenarios that would have happened had you stayed with that person or had you not been betrayed by that person. And yeah, it serves as very important markers on a timeline. But it's only once you progress a couple years past that timeline that you could see the knowledge in it, unless you do it the wrong way and let it spiral you into down the toilet of self-destruction, in which case then you're like, oh, well, that's when my life went completely wrong. So no, that's when you chose to give up. They're two very different things. A heartbreak's fantastic. I wish my heart could still be broken. That would be nice. Well, men live for women. This is the point. Men live for women in every single way. If women didn't exist on this planet, everything about my life would be different. I'd have fast cars because I like driving them. But a lot of the things that men do, a lot of the things we say, the way you dress, lots of it is about trying to attract women, trying to impress women, and trying to have women hold you in a high regard. Because if women in general hold you in a high regard, then you as a high value man have your pick of the best women on the planet. And there isn't a single red-blooded male out there in the world who doesn't like the idea of lots of different women being attracted to him. Even if he's got his wife and he's in love and it's the first girl he's ever been with and he's, I don't know, a Mormon or a Muslim or a Christian who's super involved. If you were to ask him, would you like to be unattractive to women or attractive to women just in general, he'd say attractive because it raises the impression people have of his wife, for example. So there's not a single man in the world who doesn't live for women in one way or another. So they are almost every lesson you learn about life and almost everything you've done wrong can somehow be reflected back into the mirror of what do women think of this and what do women see in me because of this. So almost every lesson, I guess, if you want to be philosophical about it.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
No one is ever going to give a shit about you, even 1% as much as you have to give a shit about yourself. No one cares. No one cares about you if you're a man, ever. Everything is conditional. You don't get loved unconditionally. And that's a beautiful thing because that makes you strive to create your own value as a man. And the problem that men have is we all go from a time when everyone cares about us to a time no one does. Women don't lose it until they're maybe 45 and childless. Then they'll be like, oh, what the fuck's going on? Now she understands what it's like to become a 15, 16, 17-year-old man. Because we've gone through the stage. I remember my aunts and uncles, hey, little Tristan, I remember, they all cared about me back then. Then you get to 16, 17, 18, you're out in the cold world and you're like, no one gives a fuck, do they? I can't pay my bills. I have no food. Nobody cares. Yeah, your mother and your father will care a little bit, but you have to care about them. So I'd say the duty of protection is the other way around once you become an adult, and you have to care about yourself. So the best advice I can give to anyone, especially the young men who are 13, 14, 15, who, are sitting in their room playing video games and their mother's still bringing them sandwiches, if she continues to care about you that much and you lean on it, you're going to be a nobody. And if she says, okay, you're 18 now, get the fuck out of my house, you're going to be a nobody until you make something of yourself. So the best advice every young man needs to hear is nobody gives a shit about you at all until you make them give a shit. People give a shit about me and Andrew now. Why? Would you have given a shit about me if I just fucking stayed in my room playing video games from age 18 till now? No, you wouldn't know who the fuck I was.
Last question. What's the last thing you would say to the world?
I would say to all the young men out there who see me as a source of inspiration, motivation, knowledge, anyone out there, because I wouldn't address the people who can't stand me. I'd address the people who look up to me. I'd again say something similar than I said to my brother. I'd say if I exist or not, if I speak or not, if I do podcasts, if you hear my voice, it doesn't matter. You can do all of this without me as a source of motivation. Everything I've tried to say to you and everything I've tried to tell you, I've meant it because I care about not you personally, but the way that men are perceived in this world and the way men carry themselves in this world. And if you are a true fan of mine, don't get angry, don't go nuts, don't burn anything down. Don't let this become a moment in your life that spirals you down that toilet of self-destruction. You don't need me, and you can do this anyway. And best of luck.